So hello and good afternoon. Welcome everybody to Webinar Wednesday, Sight and Sound Technologies monthly Wednesday afternoon meetup. My name is Stuart Lawler, Sight and Sound Technology, and I'm delighted as always to be joined by my co-host and colleague, Carl Braley, who is in Northampton. Today is actually the first of two webinars. Later on tonight, we have a session with Vispero on the new version of JAWS 2022. So for anyone who's here who has not registered for that, if you're interested, all the details are on the Sight and Sound website at sightandsound.co.uk. Today, we're delighted to be joined by Martin Simcox from Metro Blind Sport, and having a really good chat with Martin just before we came on air, and we've been chatting to Martin for a little while, so delighted that he's joined us for a webinar today to tell us all about what Metro Blind Sport do and hopefully answer your questions. And speaking of questions, you can get in touch with us today if you'd like to chat by pressing Alt and H or activating the chat button if you're using a mobile device. Or you can raise your virtual hand if you'd like to speak to Martin and ask a question by pressing Alt and Y or pressing the raise hand button. And Carl will be keeping an active eye on our raised hands and chat box. If you are sending a chat message, please make sure that you address it to all participants and attendees so that everybody gets to see your messages. I think that's all our housekeeping done. So Martin, we're absolutely delighted that you've joined us. Thanks a million for giving us your time today. And I'm very happy to hand over to yourself.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Carl, for having me along to Webinar Wednesday. So my name, as Stuart has said, is Martin Simcox. I'm the CEO at Metro Blind Sport. So Metro Blind Sport is a London-based charity. We're quite a small charity, and our aim really is to provide sport and physical activity opportunities for blind and partially sighted people in the London area. A little bit of history of where we've come from. So Metro Blind Sport was set up nearly 50 years ago now. So we've got our 50th anniversary in 2023, and we were set up primarily because there was little or no opportunity for blind and partially sighted people to take part in meaningful sport and physical activity. Our founding members had been to a specialist VI school where they were used to taking part in terms of competitive sport and taking part in a range of different sports and activities. And they came out of specialist school with little or no opportunities, as I've mentioned. There was perhaps a walk that they could do or play chess. And simply for them, that simply wasn't enough. They wanted to be active, they wanted to take part, they wanted to be competitive. And so Metro Blind Sport was born. The Metro Blind Sport started off by being a place where people could play football and cricket, and those are the first really two key sports. But throughout the period of time, the founding members of Metro Blind Sport became, I suppose, pioneers for wider participation in disability sport. Clearly, what we're talking about here, particularly with regards to VI sport. To give you perhaps a scope of what has been achieved in those 50 years, one of our founding members, a gentleman called Mike Brace, he has done over 50 different sports, all linked in some way to Metro Blind Sport. So the starting point really for the founding members was that that everything is possible. Nothing should be seen as not being able to be achieved. And that pioneering element that I talked about is that they really were at the forefront of changing people's minds and perceptions about what was possible or what is possible, just with some small adaptations, or in some cases, perhaps some larger adaptations to make sure that people can take part in meaningful activity. What Metro Blind Sport isn't an elite club. We're very much a grassroots organisation in terms of giving people that opportunity to participate, knowing that that perhaps is one of the primary reasons for people not taking part, is they're just simply not aware of the opportunities that exist. And I'll talk about perhaps where you may be able to find opportunities if you're not London-based, if you're based elsewhere in the UK, of where you can find opportunities to take part in. But that's perhaps one of the key things that Metro did, is that they worked collectively. They sent out information to what then became a membership-based organisation, so that they were sharing knowledge, and that's very much what we do on the sort of a grassroots level. I'll come on to talk about the sports we do in a moment. But what we also provide is a platform for people, if they so wish, to take part in competitive sport, either locally, regionally, nationally, and in some cases, internationally. So as a charity, we fundraise in order to support the activities that take place, but also that fundraising activity supports our members to apply for a subsidy to take part in some of those competitive elements that I've just touched upon. So what sports do we offer, or what sports have we offered? So we kind of describe ourselves in some instances as a collection of sports clubs, and that's for the core activity that we deliver. By core activity, that's things that we've been doing year after year, season after season, in some cases all year round. So our core activities include Crown Green Bowls. So we deliver 2 sessions per week in the summer, 1 session per week during the winter, and our members have the opportunity to take part, again, if they so wish, in regional and national competition. And in fact, some of our members have competed internationally as well. Cricket is something similar. So cricket happens pretty much all year round, because we have nets in the winter, and we've got 2 cricket teams, one that plays in the National League and one that plays in a developmental regional league. So that's people that are perhaps trying cricket for the first time, or people that aren't too fussed whether it's competitive or not. They simply love the game of cricket and want to be amongst like-minded people. Another program that we deliver is a football program. So we have very much a beginners program that we've just started in collaboration with a local football club, and who we've partnered with a Premier League club before in terms of a collaboration with Fulham. But we've also got a partially sighted football team that again plays in a national league, as well as training every week. Other key sports that we deliver on a regular basis is tennis. So this is perhaps where the pioneering element I'm able to explain in a little bit more detail. So tennis, VI tennis, was a demonstration sport 15 years or so ago. 2 or 3 of the Metro Blind Sport members went along to a demonstration that occurred in London, and thought, you know what, this is not happening in the UK. Maybe we could give it a go and see where it takes us. So they started to play between themselves in London. People from outside of London found out about VI tennis, and so our members went and demonstrated the sport to different parts of the UK. Roll on 15 years, or let's go roll on 13 years pre-pandemic, because that's a bit more interesting. Is that in that year, the LTA had then for a number of years now taken over the running of visually impaired tennis. They were going to have their most popular year in terms of competitions that they're going to be running 10 competitions in a year. It was going to be the fourth time that the World Championships had been held in terms of tennis. So I think that just perhaps demonstrates the ease in which sports can develop, although it was a lot of hard work, but the speed in which they, I suppose, can develop once people really get behind and champion a particular sport. So tennis is an activity that we do on a regular basis. But if I very quickly then go through some of the other things that we've done. We've delivered archery, and we're waiting to restart that post-COVID. For 40 years, we've been delivering an annual athletics event. The only one left now of its kind in the UK happens in London. So an organised athletics event with timekeepers, with starters with England athletics officials, very much providing a platform for people to experience competitive athletics, although it is set up as a fun day as well. We have an ongoing climbing program where people can take part in climbing, meaningful climbing every week, and climb with an aim to climb independently in the future. We have a side-by-side cycling program that we've been delivering for 6 months. We've just started, and really excited by this, is a dance program, predominantly based at the South Asian community, but that's been a digital program online called Dance Dosti. We're now moving that into a phase 2, which is a face-to-face program, and we've been delivering sessions in Ealing for people of the South Asian background with a visual impairment. So that's Dance Dosti. We've also been delivering multi-sport club. We're on our second short course for netball, sort of again pretty much the first of its kind. We've partnered with the Super League netball team in London Pulse, to deliver a netball program with skills related to netball. And other activities that our members have taken part in include swimming, sailing, rambling, walking. And again, another program that we've done for 40 odd years up until COVID, but we'll hopefully resume next year, is a cross-country skiing program that takes part in Norway each year. So again, we have subsidized our members to take part, but that is something that has been going on for, like I mentioned, 40 years, where people go along, take part in, they're very much paired with sighted guides over in Norway, an amazing setup where people come from over 100 countries to come together, experienced to inexperienced, just people having the opportunity to take part in a skiing program. Hopefully what I've demonstrated just in that sort of opening 10 minutes is that not only have Metro Blind Sport delivered a number of sports and continue to deliver activity, is that pretty much everything is possible. The key that we have found, and we found with our ongoing activities, is that we've got a venue that is accessible. We have got a coach, or in some cases volunteers, that are knowledgeable about issues related to blind and partially sighted people taking part in sport and activity. And that these sessions are occurring at a time and in a location where there is a demand for people to take part. But it's not all straightforward. There are a number of challenges, and I suppose I've mentioned one or two of those challenges at the moment already. Sorry, is that the challenges that exist are around a suitable location, are opposite to some of the things I've just mentioned. That there are activities aren't at a time that isn't helpful for people to take part. That people really are aware of what opportunities exist. That's one of the key ones that we hear from our members. Is simply about opportunity to take part. And then another element is around confidence for people to give it a go, knowing that they're going to a location where there are people that are knowledgeable. And that tends to be some of the issues that we found in people going to the gym or going swimming, is that experiences have been tainted somewhat by people's understanding of what they can do to facilitate a really happy and enjoyable exercise session. So the other part of the work that Metro do is to try and overcome some of those barriers. So we've been involved in research opportunities before. One of those was looking at gym equipment and how best we can work out what we could do to make improvements to gym equipment. I think we have Gian from University of Southampton on the call today, who's doing a study about VI young people, young adults, and how they take part in sport and physical activity in particular. That research is looking at testing of an app, and maybe people might be interested in contacting Gianna separately outside of this and seeing how they perhaps could be involved in that active research right now. So throughout the time that Metro Blind Sport has been involved, we've wanted to make sure that where we can try and change people's perceptions about VI sport and physical activity, either that through case studies or through research or through just simply showcasing the work that we do. I mentioned earlier on about perhaps how people could get involved. From a Metro Blind Sport perspective, we're a membership-based organisation. That doesn't mean that you have to be necessarily a member to take part in all of our activity. Some of it, we do ask that people are members, and membership for Metro is £10 and £10 for life. That's really just an administration cost that's linked to people joining, so that we know that who's a member, we can provide them with subsidies or where applicable. But it's easy to join. It's a really straightforward form. And then information that we have on our newsletter, on our website, or on our social media channels is regularly updated, regularly circulated with all the activity that we've got going on. More broadly, British Blind Sport, organisation that oversees all sort of VI sport in the UK. They have an activity finder on their website. So organisations that are providing VI sport physical activity have the opportunity to advertise free of charge their activities on the British Blind Sport activity finder. And I would encourage people outside of London to use that facility to find out what's available to them. There will be local sight loss organisations within all around the country. We very much work alongside Visionary to share best practice around sport physical activity. But in each area of England, I should say, there will be an active partnership. Again, if you go onto the Active Partnerships website, you're able to search for your local active partnership. That organisation is best placed locally to be able to provide you with information about accessible and inclusive opportunities in your area. So I kind of come back now to, well, why be physically active? Why take part in sport and physical activity? Is it important? And clearly, I'm going to say, well, yes, of course it is, and it's just for a number of reasons that I'll perhaps highlight. Not only just those physical reasons to take part that include improved circulation, bone strength, muscle and joint strength, weight management, potentially helps with sleep, but also for those peripheral benefits as well in terms of improvements to mental health. That's very much what we have, what we found during the pandemic, is that when we surveyed our members about, well, what is it that you're really looking forward to doing when we're coming out of the first lockdown, what were you looking to, what's sport going to give you when you return back to it? Is that whilst everybody said that they're looking forward to getting back to the activity that they were doing, whatever particular activity that was, over 80% of the people also referred to some form of social connection. Is that they were all looking forward to meeting the people that they used to play tennis with, or they couldn't wait to go and perhaps have a drink after the game, or go for lunch with the people that they were taking part with, or traveling to an event with somebody. So that sort of improvements to mental health really are a reason to take part. And we have seen our members grow in confidence in terms of their ability to, their confidence to travel to activities as well. But some of those key bits really are about that involvement in your local community, about maintaining and building relationships with people that take part, but also with friends and family that come along to carry out those activities as well. We're often asked, well, can I do it? Hopefully, I've perhaps helped to explain that yes, you can, with the example of one of our founding members that's taken part in 50 odd different activities. And not everybody, not every sport is suitable for every person. And often people try one sport and then go to a different one at Metro until perhaps they find one that is really right for them. But yeah, the answer of can somebody take part? Well, yes, they can. Often there just needs to be maybe some minor tweaks to certain activities and adaptations for people to take part. If I perhaps give 2 examples of adaptations so that people are understanding what I mean by those. For crown green bowls, for people that know about crown green bowls, that's bowling essentially a wooden ball up a middle of a length of grass, or indoors an artificial grass, to get closest to a smaller ball that has been thrown previously. The adaptation for visually impaired bowls is that there is a thin line of string that goes along the length of the green, and there is somebody at the end where the ball is being thrown that is describing how close to that smaller ball that their ball has landed, using the clock face system. Those are the only adaptations to non-disabled bowls that are being used. From a tennis perspective, VI tennis, the scoring is exactly the same as non-disabled tennis, and the court is just slightly narrowed. The net is lowered ever so slightly. There is a different ball, so a slightly bigger ball, a sponge ball that flies more slowly through the air, and that ball is also audible, so that people are able to hear that ball. Again, those are the only adaptations that are made to VI tennis. So it's just such a great game for people to play with everybody. So how much activity should somebody do? Well, the chief medical officers of each of the 4 UK countries say that people should do 150 minutes of activity per week, a moderate intensity of activity. But I would say it's for people to start slowly. Everyone has different needs, and people should really just try and build up their exercise slowly and gradually, and focus on those sort of task goals about improving stamina rather than competition and things like that. And very much be practical. Don't put any pressure on yourself about what you've got to do every day. People might feel like doing 20 minutes one day and maybe 30 minutes the next day. And things like going for a walk or things that you might do in the garden are equally as good as taking part in a running event or something like that. The key bit for me, and with any sport and activity really, is making it fun. I hope that's what we do at Metro Blind Sport. We've got knowledgeable and qualified coaches that help deliver activity. We want to make it fun, we want to make it enjoyable, and we want to make sure that if people want to and take part in other activities, such as competitive activity, that they have a route to do that. And that might be through Metro, that might not be through Metro. It's all about people very much having that opportunity to take part in the first place. So I hope that gives you a bit of an overview of what Metro Blind Sport does, and perhaps why people how people could get involved. We encourage people to come along, no obligation, no charge, to come and have a go at an activity, see if they like it. If they do, brilliant. You'll perhaps come along to another session. If you don't, then maybe you'll try something different another day. But I'm very much now, Stuart, and Carl, open to people asking me any questions about the work that we do, or what we're planning maybe for the future, or how people get involved, or anything related to really to sport and physical activity.
Martin, thanks a million. It's absolutely fantastic. There's something there. There's more there for everyone. There's so much there for everyone, and at all levels. And you guys seem to be doing absolutely brilliant work. So thank you for such a thorough presentation. It's really great. Now you can raise your hand if you want by pressing Alt and Y if you'd like to ask Martin a question, or put in chat with Alt and H. And I am going to go over to Carl to see how we're doing on raised hands and chats.
I'm muted, which isn't really going to help, is it?
That's a surprise.
And I'm supposed to be one of the professionals. We've only been doing this 18 months and I still can't get it right. Yes, we have Tracy Osborne who would like to speak.
Hello.
Hi there, Tracy.
How are you?
Hiya. I haven't got a question. Just wanted to tell you about a young girl that is one of my clients. She's registered as blind, has got some sight. Now, this young girl I have been involved with for quite a while, a few years, and just unbelievably never had any motivation, just basically dragged her through treacle. And I caught up with her most recently because she wanted a direct payment for tennis lessons. So I thought, okay, all right, I'll go out and I'll have a chat with her and see what's going on. I walked into this young girl's flat and saw a very, very different girl. She accesses the gym, she goes to cricket club, cricket camp, and she does tennis at blind sport. Her confidence has grown. She's more chatty. She laughs a lot more. She looks amazingly fit. We did provide a direct payment for her to pay for some tennis lessons, and her dream is to play nationally as on a more professional level. So I've just got to say thank you very, very much for supporting this young lady and just showing me what blind sport can do. So thank you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Tracy.
Great story.
I think very much what that. I think that we've got a number of examples like that, Tracy, where people have come along to activity, and that's sort of really positive impact more broadly in their life. And there's an example of a gentleman that it was a young man when he came along to Metro a number of years ago, who was always interested in cricket, but never thought he'd be able to play cricket. Was always told that he couldn't do as opposed to perhaps he could do. And he came across one of our newsletters, and he went along. He's severely sight impaired. Went along to a session, and all of a sudden came across people that were talking about their husbands and wives, and the fact that they'd been to university and that they were working. And I think that what that inspired this particular young man at that time to understand is that sport really can become a catalyst to much more in terms of giving people that confidence and that understanding, speaking to peers that other things are possible. And that this particular gentleman went on to go to university, live independently, get a job, but those things for him pale into significance when he's represented his country playing cricket. So yes, I think it's great in terms of what sport can be a platform towards.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tracy. Thanks, and great.
Okay.
It's a really great story. So thanks for sharing it with us. Do we have any other raised hands?
We do indeed. We've got Michael Duplock.
Oh, Michael's a regular
if you can
attendee.
unmute yourself, please.
Order. Zoom webinar. Audio now unmuted.
Hi, Michael.
Hi there.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. That's great. Just want to say that sport has been great in my life. I am completely blind. I swim, I cycle, but my main activity is running. And I would encourage anybody to get into running because it's so easy, it's cheap to do. There's a running club in nearly every town, and all the running clubs are supposed to have a disability section. And my running club, which is Horsham Joggers, we've got over 500 members, and they regularly run courses to guide blind runners. And I've got about 20 people that I can call on. So I go out 2, 3, 4 times a week with a different person. If I want to run a race, there's always someone available to run with me. And all it is a piece of cloth that I hold one end, they hold the other end. and off we go. And I was on your sports webinar about a year ago, and I told you then, I've been doing okay. I've done 53 marathons, I've done 15 triathlons, I've done 15 ultra marathons, and I do park runs. Great atmosphere, lovely social activities. And so even if you're not in London, there's always a running club around. Get in touch with them. And England Athletics encourage them to have a disability section. As I say, my club has that, and I'm sure most clubs would welcome you in and would help you. You can do a couch to 5K course, and people are so friendly, and it's for me, I really enjoyed it, and I would encourage it for anybody.
PhD student at University of Southampton. If you are interested to participate in
Thank you, Michael. I mean, I would absolutely agree with you there that the England Athletics is that I have a link to a person there that again would help facilitate people to take part. They've very much been supportive of people that have come to Metro Blind Sports, so their inclusion manager have wanted to take part with local clubs. So I'd very much echo Michael's thoughts. Michael also mentioned the Couch to 5K, but also park runs. So park runs have been closed for quite a while. They're back reopened again now. Park runs have been a real source of enjoyment for Metro Blind Sport members, but again, there are park runs all over the country. They would very much are welcoming of blind and partially sighted people to take part in their park runs and will do their utmost to help provide a guide for people to take part. So you just need to contact them beforehand. But again, park runs, for people that don't know, is a 5K run, but they're I suppose what park runs say is that nobody is ever last, because there's always somebody at park run that crosses the line last. So it means that people can go at a pace that is suitable for them. The benefits of going to park run is that there's loads of people there, and it's fun and it's enjoyable, and that's the aim of park run, is meeting other people and getting doing a little bit of exercise as quickly or slowly as you want at the same time.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Martin, for that response as well. I saw something on chat from Samantha Richardson, and she said it's a great presentation, really impressed at the variety of sports. And she's wondering, Martin, have you ever thought of expanding to other cities in the UK?
We haven't, unfortunately, no. But depending on what area of the country that you're based in, I might well be able to link you up with some people that are delivering locally in that area, or at least ask the questions of contacts that I have to perhaps put you in contact with people in different areas. So there are pockets of really great activity. So a number of different sports happening in some areas. In other areas, as perhaps Michael explained, there are individual organisations delivering activity, VI activity on one particular sport, whether it be cycling, running, football, cricket, or whatever it might be. Thanks for the kind comments. But if we're not going to go national at this stage, but I can certainly put you in contact with people locally.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. And we'll give out your contact details at the end of the session as well, Martin, so that people can get in touch. Any other raised hands, Carl?
No, we have Gian's joined and put their details in to the chat box. So if anyone wants to contact Gian directly, they've added their email address. I will just send this out just separately as well, just so everyone, if they'd like to take part in Jan's research, as was mentioned earlier, but I've just made sure the email address is separate, just so they can drop a line.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to take part in Gian's research, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And I think just, you know, the more research that we can do to that will encourage people to take part in sport and physical activity, the better. You know, we certainly encourage it. We certainly try and promote it wherever we can. And I'd encourage people, if they can, is to take part and contact Gian for a few more details, and she can provide them with those details.
Super, that's fantastic. Okay, last chance, I think, for people to raise their hands if you want to ask a question. You can do Alt and Y, or press the raised hand button, or you can chat if you want to put a message in chat and we'll pop in, we'll see it.
We've got Jonathan now with his hand up. Jonathan,
Jonathan, brilliant.
If you can unmute yourself, please.
Hi, Carl, Stuart.
Hi, Jonathan.
Great presentation as always. Thank you. I've got a couple of questions, really. I am quite active and I enjoy sport in various ways, but two things I'd like advice on. One is swimming. I'm thinking about going back to swimming. I don't see anything. So what's your advice for when going to a swimming pool at a gym or somewhere to go swimming laps? And secondly, tandem cycling. I live in central London. So again, any advice on that would be appreciated. Okay,
thanks, Jonathan. So I'll start with the second one first. From a tandem cycling perspective, it depends which part of London you're based in, but
Paddington.
In where? Sorry.
Paddington.
Teddington.
Yeah, Paddington.
Yeah.
Central London.
Central London. Okay. Well, the organisation that's most active in terms of tandem cycling is Merton Sports and Social Club, and they do a couple of cycles, so a couple of cycle rides each month. There's a long ride and a short ride. They're very experienced in terms of doing those sessions. So that would always, it's always my first referral point is going along to Merton Sports and Social Club.
Okay.
There are other organisations like Wheels for Wellbeing that deliver inclusive sessions as well. But then they're on a track as opposed to necessarily going out about on the roads. So maybe I can circulate some information, Jonathan, about Merton Sports and Social Club to give you a contact. I'll perhaps share that with Stuart and Carl, and they can send that on. From a swimming perspective, so Metro provide subsidised swimming lessons. So we do we do a one-to-one programme with a swimming instructor. We do that at North Holt Leisure Centre in Ealing. And that is 4 half-an-hour sessions, like I said, with an instructor to get people either back in the pool or improve technique. But general advice around swimming is that I would very much make contact with your local provider, the pool that you think you're going to go to make them aware of what would be helpful for you. So in the past, we've encouraged leisure centres to provide some form of meet and greet service to make sure that they are providing clear instructions about what to expect or for what a customer should expect when they arrive, not just from how the session works, but also where reception is, any directional information that would be required. And also providing somebody that can guide them and give them an orientation of the changing area and swimming pool to start with. We've also worked with organisations before where they provided a dedicated lane for somebody to swim in, and also had a consideration about where that lane, which side of the pool that lane goes from a light perspective. Other things that we've done is provided or advised them about providing some sort of high-vis notifications at the end of each swimming lane, whether that's a cone or something similar, something that's contrasting with the environment, so that people are able to know if they do have some sight where each of the ends of the pool are. The key bit, Jonathan, I would advise is that you have a conversation with the facility. A cautionary note, some of the work that we are doing, and again, I'm doing it with Thomas Pocklington as well, is around raising the awareness of the knowledge of people that work in leisure facilities around what they could do to support blind and partially sighted people taking part, because they're not always knowledgeable about what they can do to help. So my advice would be, although you shouldn't have to do this ordinarily, is be explicit about what would be helpful for you, so that they are they do have that information. We very much find that people working in facilities really want to help. They just aren't sure quite what to do and what would work for the best. Which is why we're doing some work to educate them to make them aware.
Brilliant, thanks, Mark.
No problem.
Thanks, Jonathan, for the question as well. Great to know about all the stuff going around, especially the awareness around talking to leisure centres, and I think that all that stuff is really important. Okay, last chance for any questions. And Gian has put a link in the chat as well to her research if you want to read more information about that. And I'm sure if you email Gian, if you're interested in taking part in that, if you email Gian, you can get that information as well. It sounds really interesting.
Stuart, just one final perhaps point for me is that if people want to know a little bit more about different sports, is that Metro Blind Sport have a YouTube page. On there are some videos that demonstrate some of the sports that we do, not only from just a general perspective, but about what those sports actually mean to people that take part as well. So pop along there. If people want to perhaps take part online, first of all, and I think might want to start there, then British Blind Sport have a number of online accessible workout sessions that they can take part in that have been pre-recorded already, and they do have once a month, a week of live sessions that they could take part in as well. So there's an opportunity to join online and have a go at those as well.
Okay, I think after your presentation today, Martin, and you're coming along, there's no excuse for any of us to start changing our lifestyle and get more fit and get more involved. Do you want to give us the website for Metro Blind Sport and how you guys can be contacted?
Yep. So the website for Metro Blind Sport is www.metroblindsport.org. There is a contact information on there, but you can also contact us via email, which is info@metroblindsport.org. Please circulate my details after today. Metro Blind Sport's on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We share information regularly through those channels. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in contact with me.
Brilliant. And we've just put the link to Metro Blind Sport in chat. Thanks, Carl. And Martin, thank you so much for coming along today, for giving us your time and for giving us a whole wealth of information and lots and lots of things, I think, for everybody to ponder on, and hopefully you'll hear from some people in the very near future. So thanks a million for coming along. That's it from us for today. Thank you everybody for joining Webinar Wednesday. We're back in a month's time. If you're coming to our Vispero session later, we'll see you there. If not, we look forward to chatting to you in a month. And thanks as always to Carl for helping out, and again to Martin for his attendance. We'll talk to you all soon. Take care.